Well, I want to put out this controversial video because, well, I hate to actually say it's political, but it's not political, damn it. You know, I really am not a conservative or a Republican, and from some of the things I've heard Gary Johnson talk about recently, which is the Libertarian candidate, I don't really give a damn about him, too. You know what, I really look at it, it's we the people against the damn government. And, maybe that sounds so cliche, but bear with me on this because I'm going to talk about civil forfeiture. It's actually the right for the police, and they have really actually no legitimate right to do this, but basically seize assets, whether it's cash or vehicles, houses, whatever the hell it is, without any kind of due process on a suspicion of a crime. Now, I'm showing a map here, and the states that are colored in the darkest color red are the ones that have the worst rating for civil forfeiture. And you can see South Carolina, Alabama, South Dakota, probably because the Lakota Indians are there, or American natives, because they probably screwed them over. Wyoming, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, horrible. Now, you're looking at this state where it says it has an A plus rating, green, New Mexico. That is even deceptive because I did some research on this actually. Albuquerque, New Mexico, during one 10-year period, had 1 out of 66 of its people's cars, 1 out of 66, which is close to 2%. I guess it's like 1.7% roughly around there, of people's cars in the city of Albuquerque confiscated, impounded by the police over this civil forfeiture BS freaking racket that the police have. This is I know that you see the things on YouTube about the police doing this, and I can't knock all the police because if you're a good cop, you're putting up with all the crap from the bad cops. You're putting up with the crap from the political system that you got to listen to, and then you also have to deal with the public. So the good cops get it worse than, by far, than the average person. That me, I'm an average person complaining about this, but I have to tell you, this is like freaking I'm going to just give you some facts on it. Now, this also another thing, if you're looking at this map, again, it's kind of like, here's the rulings, how the states are rated. Then you look at the next map. The next map is telling you, which states took in the most cash. And you look at Texas. Texas is pretty damn bad. Now, North Carolina took in a lot of cash. You can see their darker green state. You go back, North Carolina looks light green. By this other map, it looks like their rules are nice, or better, relatively speaking. You see, it's almost like you really can't look at these charts and think like all these states or some of the states aren't so bad, because some of the states that actually, like, I showed New Mexico and Albuquerque, they're ignoring their rules left and right. And North Carolina, yeah, North Carolina looks like one of the states has an A or A minus or B plus rating. And you look over here, North Carolina is one of the states that took in a lot of cash. Now, New York and California, horrible. Illinois, Ohio, horrible. Texas, of course, God, Texas. It's amazing, man. Everything's screwed up. That's really what it comes down to. Civil forfeiture in the United States, just taking this off of Wikipedia, but a lot of people, they never heard of this exactly, and a lot of this came about during the time of the war on drugs. Not only Nixon, and I don't want to sound like I'm some Democrat because I'm not a I never even voted Democratic, but I'm disgusted with the historical Republicans, including Ronald Reagan. Big farce. If you really want to talk, you really want to talk about somebody who was for the people, John F. Kennedy. That's it. And you know what happened with him? They didn't like him. They killed him because he's for the people. Now, how this works is civil forfeiture. It's persons suspected of involvement with a crime, suspected, or illegal activity, without necessarily being charged with the crime. It becomes the state versus the property. So civil forfeiture involves a dispute between law enforcement and the property, and law enforcement gets a cut. So what does that tell you? They are racketeers themselves, and they actually need to be subjected to the RICO laws. Who the hell needs law enforcement? It's a joke, man. So if you have a pile of cash, a house, or whatever the hell it is, and if they're being suspected involved in a crime, law enforcement can take them. And this has happened throughout the country. Now, it doesn't happen to everybody because it's below the radar on many people, right? So now in other words, most people this did not happen to, but it happens quite a bit. It happens quite a bit, and it's getting worse because the charts are showing they're taking in more and more every year. Civil forfeitures laws have actually been traced back to the British Navigation Acts, which allowed seizure of ships and goods in suspicion of wrongdoing rather than going after the owners. Now, also, you might want to look at it. This was even prior to the War of 1812 or what was happening after the American Revolution, which led to the War of 1812. You know, sailors were being impressed from American ships and put on British ships, and American ships are being stolen from American owners, and they're flying the British flag. Just, you know, when you're out there on the high seas, it's like you're screwed. There's no law anywhere. You know, you can't call, 911 or whatever the hell it is. Actually, you probably wouldn't want to call 911 because that could be a mess too. The thing is, during the Prohibition era, anytime you see when they prohibit drugs, when they prohibit alcohol, they got an excuse to freaking come in and play draconian garbage. Now, I don't drink, I don't smoke, okay? I don't do any drugs, I don't ever do any weed, on nothing. I mean, whether some people call weed not drugs, actually, I don't really consider weed a drug, but I don't do any weed, I don't do any drugs, I don't smoke, I don't drink, period. Now, but I am an advocate for anybody's rights to do so. If you want to do that, fine, go ahead, whatever, cool, do whatever you want. I mean, if you want to regulate what the hell's wrong with you, what people could do, I mean, you could be like Bloomberg and regulate you can't have a 32-ounce big gulp of soda because it's bad for you because it has too much sugar in it. Yeah, I agree it's bad for you, fine. But, if people want to do what the hell they want to do, they want to do, fine. If they outlawed cigarettes today, there'd be a black market for cigarettes. And nicotine could be argued that it's worse than anything out there, probably more so than weed. I would really think so. But anyway, Prohibition era back in the 1930s. Prohibition, I actually want to tell you, Prohibition actually came about due to it was the Rockefellers that really pushed for Prohibition. Why did they push for Prohibition? They had Standard Oil, and the new invention on the that everybody was buying all of a sudden was the horseless carriage or the car, and the farmers were in competition with Standard Oil. Farmers would sell people alcohol that they could run in their car. As a matter of fact, the cars had a little knob on the dashboard where they can adjust the timing on the engine so it can run off of alcohol from the farmers, or if they got to buy gasoline from Standard Oil in the cities, they adjust the timing on the engine in the dashboard. They can run two types of fuel, no problem. Now, Rockefeller didn't like the competition, so he put $4 million, he gave $4 million to the women's abolitionist movement to stop the sale of alcohol in his country. Actually, the manufacture of alcohol, really not the sale of it. I think it was the manufacture of alcohol. Now, the women's prohibition movement, that was famous for, lips that touch alcohol will never touch these. And you see these homely women over there with a picture. I have posted those things before. Now, the thing is, it was a shrewd maneuver that, Rockefeller used the ultra-religious to ban alcohol, but he did it for his profit motivations, if you want to use that term. In other words, he did it. He gave them $4 million to the women's suffrage movement to help push for an amendment to ban the sale and manufacture of alcohol in this country. But it was like he was doing it like it looked like on its surface to be for moral reasons, but he was really just doing it because he wanted to eliminate the competition from the farmers that were a big competition to his Standard Oil, his gasoline product from Standard Oil. And, people were actually buying more from the farms. And even Henry Ford said that all fuel should really come from nature, not from Standard Oil. It should come from hemp and all that type of stuff. Now, when Prohibition came about, police were big on seizing vehicles, equipment, cash, and other property from bootleggers. Then, when it finally ended in 1933, much of that forfeiture activity ended as well until modern forfeiture. It was an infrequent resort. But then, in the last 30 years or so, forfeiture, civil forfeiture, really started kicking in. Now, I know the war on drugs really kind of started with Nixon. I don't like that guy either. It's kind of weird. I could say I'm a lifelong Republican, but I can't stand most Republicans. You know that? It's just that I don't like the Democrats more, and I don't even want to say. I really don't. I really don't even want to talk those two yo-yos against each other. Really, to get anything out of this video, it's us, the people, against the jackasses in the government. It's not even. I don't even want to look at them as like an abstract. They're criminals, man. Government is just a damn criminal enterprise, man. They're freaking screwing us over left and right without any. It's like you're not even doing something wrong. Even if you are doing something wrong, most of the laws are bullshit. I mean, if somebody's smoking some weed someplace or just growing some weed, big deal. Who cares? What's the problem with that stuff? You know what I mean? So the war on drugs really kicked in under the Ronnie Reagan, the hero of the Republicans. Now, again, I am definitely not a Democrat, but I'm disgusted with Republicans too. Maybe I'm a Trumpster now, because he's pissing everybody else off. Took me a while to get on board with him, but I guess he is legit. Found it impossible But anyway, civil forfeiture activity increased dramatically during the last 30 years, and it was over the war on drugs. So according to journalist Sarah Stillman, I don't know if she's related to Stillman because the Stillman family, that's a big old money thing. I don't know if she's related to that. A major turning point in forfeiture activity was the passage of the Comprehensive Crime Control Act of 1984. Ronald Reagan. And the law, oh yeah, we gotta stop crime and drugs and evil. Oh, yeah, whatever, fine, whatever. The law permitted local and federal law enforcement agencies to divvy up the seized assets and cash. Now, if you really want to talk about who's a drug dealer, psychiatrists are drug dealers, the worst kind. Do not ever get involved with those yo-yos because those are criminals in themselves, and that's actually a discussion on another video, and actually I've had videos on those, but there's legal drug dealers, which is the psychiatric profession, and there's illegal drug dealers, which is, I don't know, the people that grow plants in the ground. I guess those are the illegal ones that people used to use. They used to use, the AMA used to use for medicines for many years before it was illegal under the Hemp Stamp Tax Act. Now, let's go. It's possible for a drug dealer to serve time in a forfeiture. They're saying it's possible for a drug dealer to serve time in a forfeiture-financed prison after being arrested by agents during a forfeiture-provided automobile while working in a forfeiture-funded sting operation. So they're making it sound like, oh, this is so great. We're not even, the public is not even paying for these drug operations to go after these drug dealers. They're actually being funded by other drug dealers. They're making it, it's selling it, this garbage to the public. Usually these Bible thumpers, which is kind of disgusting to me because most of these people are conservatives. I call them conservatards. I call the liberals libtards. I'm actually just against all these draconian rules to the max. I'm disgusted with this garbage. And I don't know where the hell I fit. I'm not even a libertarian, to tell you the truth. I'm really, what it comes down to is I'm anti the racketeers, what you call government. I don't know if we should use another word for that because that's so worn out. Government. You know what I mean? It is a freaking racket, man. Everybody works in the government. It's a freaking waste. They're total waste, man. They're total waste. They don't do anything. They're fraud, waste, and abuse right from get-go. The more problematic federal civil forfeiture laws were introduced and pushed through the Republicans in the 1980s with support from Democrats. Now, Bill Clinton, it doesn't mention it in this Wikipedia article. Now, I'm using Wikipedia because, it's free, it's legal for me to use, and number two, they're dumbing down this stuff. It's a lot worse than what it's even said in Wikipedia. Wikipedia is giving you the tip of the iceberg. It's a lot worse than this. So if you think this is bad, it's a lot worse than this. I'm just telling you. That's why I'm using Wikipedia. Yeah, it's legal for me to do so on YouTube. But the other thing is, I'm telling you this, but because it's actually the nice version of really how bad it is. I'm not even trying to scare people. I'm giving you what the hell the watered down version is. And most people don't know about this because this only hits a minority of people. And the minority of people it hits is not it's not legitimate. It's not a legitimate cause for you're abusing the hell out of this freaking the Civil Forfeiture Act. Now, the Republicans pushed this crap in here, but the Democrats are all involved in it. And I would have mentioned also that Bill Clinton, with his 3 strikes and you're out garbage, he's one of the ones that also freaking greatly increased the number of people incarcerated in prisons in the United States. Um, they're all screwed up. I mean, why do you elect anybody? I think they should. I think all the people in government ought to be put in chains, and they ought to be freaking put on chain gangs fixing our roads, our bridges, and they should be growing food for us, the public. All the people in government, all of them. I don't give a shit. Does that sound draconian? I don't care. So then, the libertarians in Congress have focused on the basic idea offensive to property rights. Yeah, that sounds cute, but the fact that they're getting paid to sit on their ass to do something, like, I don't really consider them freaking too cool either. In many areas, civil forfeiture adversely affects persons from minorities in low-income communities. You know why? Because they don't have the money to defend against this stuff. So they seize $500, $1,000, couple $1,000, whatever the hell it is, and they got no recourse. They got no money. They can't hire a lawyer. What do you do? Hire a lawyer for $300, $400, $500 an hour, so you can get back, $500, couple $1,000, whatever. The ACLU has been a long-time opponent of civil forfeiture. Now, that's one thing I agree on the ACLU, although I'm not a lot of things I don't agree about the ACLU. But there's certain things they're good for. It's kind of weird, you know. So anyway, here's the chart. See this green chart here? This goes from 2002 to 2010, and it's increasing after this chart. They've been taking in more and more money every year. So, despite all the bullshit reforms that they're giving you total quality lip service for, TQL, total quality leadership they used to call it. Now we really call it total quality lip service. That is really what's going on. They're freaking stealing more and more money. Why do they do it? Because they can. What the hell, man? It's like you saying, hey, I got the right to go around everybody's bank account and take $10 out, with a little electronic thing. Would you do it? Yeah, probably you would, right? You probably would if you said it was all legal, right? Now, let me just tell you this. The thing is that we don't need any of these jerks freaking protecting us. They're scumbags. That's what I'm looking at it. In 1990s, this is another thing, too. Supreme Court, high and mighty bullshit. I don't even know what the ruling was on this. It could have been 5-4 with Scalia, who's now removed from the situation. In 1996, Supreme Court decision ruled that prosecuting a person for a crime and seizing his property via civil forfeiture did not constitute double jeopardy and therefore did not violate the Constitution. I don't know how the hell they cannot say that. But then they said in 99 that civil forfeiture was not permitted if the amount seized was grossly disproportionate to the gravity of the offense. How the hell do you measure what that is? I mean, you got Dodo, the freaking cop, coming by. He's going to take everything he can. But he's not going to go say, well, I don't know what your fence is. He's going to take everything. He doesn't give a shit. You know what I mean? These guys are bullshit. Now, the other thing is here, compared civil forfeiture to criminal forfeiture. Interesting thing. The civil forfeiture, the court can weigh the defendant's taking the fifth, the Fifth Amendment, the right to not incriminate yourself, in their decision whether you were guilty or not, or the property was guilty or not. Actually, the property's guilty or not. So if you take the fifth, like, in other words, if they're coming after you saying, well, you did this, you did that, and you did this, and you don't want to say nothing, because it's your right not to say anything. It's your right. It's your right to remain silent. The court, when you're dealing with civil forfeiture, when it's the state or the police against an item, they can actually weigh that and say, since you use the right to not incriminate yourself, that means that the item that we are doing a civil forfeiture against is likely more guilty, and we'll weigh that in our decision when we go against the item, because it's the state versus the item, the state versus the cash, the state versus the boat, the car, the house, or whatever the hell it is. So, when you're talking about a criminal case forfeiture, this court cannot do this. Now, is that asinine or what? Now, so here I'm telling you, we already are past the time of revolution. We really are, man. This is bullshit, man. I'm going to tell you right now. I don't know, it's all talk on my part, but honestly, we really are past the time of revolution. In civil forfeiture, assets seized by the police based on a suspicion of wrongdoing. Suspicion! Without having to charge the person with any specific wrongdoing. I think that money is wrong. I think that money was involved in a crime. I'm going to take it. So what the hell are they doing here? With the case being between police and the thing itself. So they charged the item. But the item is guilty. So when you do a legal defense, it's going to be the item, the cash versus the state. It's crazy. I mean, you know, the only thing to understand in the government is force. That's it. They are force, and that is why you need to force them back. There's absolutely nothing going on. So, want to put this out here because, I don't know, just kind of, it is aggravating to me. It's probably going to be aggravating to you. I'm sorry, but it's reality. It doesn't happen to everybody. That's why it's not super commonly well known. But like in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which has, New Mexico the state has a very good, on the surface, laws against draconian civil forfeiture, as they showed in that map, right? No, not this one, but this one here. It shows A plus or A, New Mexico. It shows like, wow, really good. But in reality, even they are not doing what the hell they're supposed to. They're like in Albuquerque, New Mexico, they're seizing cars left and right. North Carolina shows an A minus rating, which is like, well, that's maybe not perfect, but that's a lot better than everywhere else, right? Well, when you're actually looking at what happens in North Carolina is one of the states that's pulling in the most money off of its citizens, even though they got this supposed, B plus A minus rating, or whatever the hell it is. It's sick. I don't know. It's sick. New York, California is, I don't know, they're pulling in a lot of money, and they look like they're not even too bad off compared to a lot of places. But they're pulling in a lot of cash. So it's like you really got to dig it. It's wrong. The whole thing is just freaking flat out wrong. The war on drugs is bullshit, because the war on drugs, as you know, is fake. Drugs are being brought in this country to fund the black ops operations of the CIA, for instance, because the Congress forbade funding a lot of these black operations. So they said, well, we're going to get this money from? Well, we'll do drug trafficking. So they bring in the problem, and then they can bring down more rules on people. So, and usually, I don't know, there's a lot of, I don't want to get into every detail on this, but it usually goes after, a lot of poor people, and they show a bunch of cases on this Wikipedia, like, the person sued back the state and its police department, and they got their money back, they got damages, they got their attorney's fees, but that's typically not what's happening, because I got to refer you to this chart back here again, and this one actually is pretty. The court could say, since you took the fifth, that means the money's more guilty. But this chart right here tells you everything. Over the years, this chart on the right hand side with the green going up, they've been pulling in more and more money. So, I mean, the huggy feely cases, they're telling you, yeah, sometimes somebody gets, wins. But generally speaking, they don't. I don't. This is sick, man. I mean, really. And that's why it turns my stomach with conservatives, too. I can say, yeah, I'm more conservative than a liberal. But I don't really want to say, I hate that word liberal, too. I mean, they took that damn word. They took that word. Liberal today means politically, it means you're myopic freaking control freak. You want to freaking control all aspects of society. You want to control everybody's life. But, the word doesn't mean that in the English language before they got into taking that word. It means, hey, it's like do your own thing. Hey, really, in a way, if you take the real way it is, liberal means do your own thing, do whatever the hell you want. I'm fine with that. In a lot of ways, I'm liberal in the true sense, not in the way these, the Clintons call it. And actually, Billy Boy Clinton is no worse than a lot of these damn Republicans. They're all screwed up, though. That's the thing. I can't freaking say, choose one and over the other, the lesser of two evils. They're all screwed up. And they're all playing the game because the powers are behind these jackass politicians, the left, the right, the freaking Republicans, the Democrats, or whatever the hell they are. The powers are behind it. It's all about controlling us. And this civil forfeiture stuff is something we should have revolted a long time ago over this crap. I mean, really. I mean, seriously, man. I mean, they should have had a revolt back in the 60s, for crying out loud. A revolt. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I don't know what the hell to tell you about this. I don't want to leave this on a negative note, but I want to make you aware of it. And so, am I making you upset about this stuff? I don't know, man. It does upset me, but I'm not trying to upset people because upsetting people makes it so you don't do something constructive. But let me just leave you with this. Just be aware. It's not conservative, liberal, or it's not Republican, Democrat. It's us, the people. And I hate to use that word government, or government is just some jackasses getting a freaking, that work 3 hours a day and get paid for 8. And they got benefits. They got all kinds of paid vacation. They get bored to death when on a job because they have a lifeless job. It's almost like, I don't know, like working for the government is like, when you're comparing foods, is like, processed food to, organic food grown from the earth. The entrepreneurs grow the food from the earth. The government is like the processed food, if you want to make that analogy. It's bland. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't help anything. And they're always trying to make it look like they're doing something. They always got to have an image, a uniform, a title. They always have to have the buildings. They got to have the seals. They got to have all the accolades or whatever the hell it is. Something. It's the public image, so to support it. But really, the government, I wish I could use another word for that, because I don't want to sound like some guy just saying, "Oh, the government's bad." But it is. It is like it's like some crackpot school teacher that's smacking you on the knuckles with a ruler every freaking time you don't sit up straight, or any time you open your mouth in class or something like that. That's really what the government is. That's what it is. It's like the stupid teacher with the horn rims that's giving you a hard time because you're a little more creative than somebody else, or maybe you're smarter than somebody else. So they got to stifle the competition. And people, I'm okay. I'm against people doing drugs. I'm not even into. I think weed is okay for people if they don't overdo it. But if you want to overdo it, fine. I mean, that's your life, man. I'm not telling you what the hell to do. If people want to do whatever people want to go skydiving. Maybe they're going to die someday. I'm not going to tell them you don't go skydiving. It's your freaking right to do so. It's your right to do so. Maybe somebody wants a bunch of pet snakes in their house, and you think, well, snakes can kill you. I'm not going to tell you what the hell to do. Do what the hell you want. It's your choice. Maybe you just need to be educated what the risks are, and then you do what the hell you want. Fine. That's the way I am. And the government is like this big freaking bunch of school teachers out there telling you with horn-rimmed glasses that you can't do this, you can't do that, and we're going to take everything away from you. So maybe I'll just put it that way. I hate them, man. I really think these jackasses that are, got their paid, cushy, high-paid jobs. I really do hope I hope they freaking debt-ridden United States goes under someday, and they just go. They don't pay these people their pensions, and they don't pay them their health care, and they don't pay them all this crap. I don't care. To tell you the truth, I really don't give a damn. Because I look at it like this. Anybody that's today in the government, pretty much, I don't care what their function is, they're the problem. We should have actually had a revolt a long time ago. And you say, well, what do you mean you got no government? Is that anarchy? Not really. Not really. People actually are more fair with each other. It's until when they get into this, enclave where they got a racket, which is like government, you know, and they all of a sudden they think they're in charge of you. That's when you got the problem. I mean, the only thing our government in the United States was supposed to do is protect the individual rights of citizens. Civil forfeiture is the exact opposite of that. They're not protecting anybody's rights. Period. They're just this is a RICO. Well, this is a racket. That's what is going on. And the law enforcement that's using civil forfeiture is a racket. The RICO laws should be used against law enforcement. If you're law enforcement, you listen to this. I understand that all law enforcement isn't bad, but it's getting so freaking bad going the wrong way due to all these bullshit laws that it's causing the good people in law enforcement not to want to continue on. And I can go on about some of the biggest criminal activity in the United States, which is actually our medical establishment in the cancer industry and the industries with vaccinations, and actually how the type of foods that were being sold in our stores that are radiated and processed, and how they're growing crops and how they're growing beef and things like that. They're wrecking everybody. All those people are criminals. And they're all protected by law enforcement because they got the money and they got the racket. I can go on and on about this forever. As a matter of fact, every single one of our politicians is involved in this kind of shit. Republican and Democrat. So, they are the problem. They are the enemy. It's really us, the people, against this garbage. We should have had a revolt a long time ago. Hate to say it, maybe that's too politically incorrect, but I'm telling you, man, it's really the reality situation.